Hey everybody, this is Todd Clint here with another budget Windows tablet unboxing. Today I will be unboxing the Winbook TW700. This little beauty can be all yours for about $70 at Microcenter, a little more on Amazon, but let's go ahead and dig in and unbox this and see what it's got. This little number I got from Microcenter for $59.99. Let's go ahead and call that $60. Ordered it a week or so ago, got it in a couple of days. This tablet used to be available only for pickup, and then Microcenter decided that everybody should get to enjoy this thing, not just people who live within driving distance of a Microcenter. So in this video, I will be unboxing this video, and I will be comparing it to some of the other budget Windows tablets that I have reviewed. As always, you can find me on Twitter at Todd Clint. You can find this video on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/ToddClintNetcast, and always my home on the web is toddclint.com. All right, I don't know about you guys, I'm pretty excited to dig into this, so let's do it. The marketing folks for the Winbook have done a fantastic job of putting every single feature of this tablet on the cover here. So we know it's got 16 gig of storage, it's got 2 front and rear cameras. Turns out they are perfect for video chatting. I know my mother will appreciate that with her grandchildren. Also, it's got the similar stuff that we're used to. It's got the Atom Z3735 G or F processor that all these budget devices come with. 1 gig of RAM. This one has a couple of odd hardware features. One is it's got an HDMI port, and we'll talk about that later. Also, all the wireless that you can stand, NBG and Bluetooth 4.0. That's also going to come in handy. Also comes with Office 365 Personal for a year. Now remember, the price tag on this is $60. Office 365 Personal for a year is not much less than that, so you're almost getting the tablet for free with the year of Office. And for $10 as of right now, as of February of 2015, for $10 you can upgrade that Office 365 Home to Office 365, or that Office 365 Personal to Office 365 Home, and then that allows you to have 5 users, 5 machines, and all that for $10. So it's a pretty good deal. The 2 negatives for this device, as I can look at it now, I haven't taken it out of the box yet, are it's only a 7-inch screen. You can get some of the other budget tablets in this similar price range, though not as cheap as $60, with 8-inch screens, which obviously is an inch larger. And it also has 16 gig of storage, which turns out is not as big of a deal as I would have originally thought. I remember a couple of years ago when I bought my Dell Venue 8 Pro, there were 2 models, a 64 gig model and a 32 gig model, and I couldn't imagine 32 gig being usable, so I got the 64. Having a few of these budget tablets and using them a little bit, 16 gig of storage for these kind of devices is usable. And of course, this has a micro SD slot, so you can put micro SD cards in there to store your media, things like that. So let's look at the rest of the box here. Lots of pictures, all that. The box on the back has more stuff. And again, this has a couple of cool hardware features that we're going to talk about. One is the micro HDMI port. Again, that is not common on these budget machines. Most of them do support Miracast, which is wireless display, but it's not quite as reliable. But this one actually has a micro HDMI port, so I can't wait to play with that. The other thing that it sports that none of the other tablets that I've looked at have got is a full-size USB port. All the other tablets that I've used have only had a micro USB port that was for charging and that you used to hook up peripherals. It was called USB on the go, or OTG to its friends, and you had to use some crazy cable combinations or port replicators or things like that. This one actually has a regular USB port on the side, so I'm very excited about that. But the side here lists all the things that we've already talked about. Looks pretty standard. The box comes with a charging cable, power plug, the tablet itself, of course, and not much else. But that's okay, because for $60, I don't have very high expectations. So let's go ahead and crack the box open. I have not pulled this out. I haven't looked at it. The only preparation I've done is I cut the seal here so that you wouldn't have to watch me fumble with a knife and chop a finger off as I tried to open this up. So let's open this up. Pretty Spartan, nothing exciting here. We've got a plastic bag. Keep this away from your children, animals, anything else. It's probably a choking hazard. I should probably have adult supervision right now when I open this. Lots of danger and warning, you know, so on and so forth. I think we're all adults here. Well, except maybe not me. But so the device feels good. It feels sturdy. It feels, it doesn't feel flimsy. It reflects the light of my light very well back into the camera, so that's got that going for it. It's got kind of a slick but sort of tactile back. And that is one thing I've started looking at with devices like phones and tablets and all that, things that I hold in my hand all the time, how slick the back is. This is kind of slick, not too slick, but almost too slick. Let's look at the ports. So here we have the micro HDMI, the micro secure digital card, SD card, not a micro headphone jack, regular size headphone jack. There is that very obvious odd looking USB jack right there. That's kind of nice. And then the charging port. I don't know if that's also USB on the go or not. We will have to find out. Nothing there, nothing there. On the top we have power, we have volume, and we have a Windows key. Now, one of the things that these tablets have struggled with is where to put the Windows key. My Dell Venue 8 Pro has it up here. I have a couple that have it up top. I have gotten in the habit, though, of just swiping in from the right with my thumb and using the one that's in the charms bar. The bad news with that is Windows 10 will not have the charms bar. There will not be a start button there. So we're going to have to start getting used to using it up there. And that's kind of inconvenient because I'm used to, as I'm doing things on the tablet, just swiping over, hitting start, and going from there. But we'll figure it out, I'm sure. So let's set this to the side right now, see what else is in the box. I think we're not going to have anything too crazy in there. We've got the power adapter in here, so this is good. Let's look and see. This is a 2 amp output. That means it can do a rapid charge. The USB standard for output is 5 volts at half an amp, or 500 milliamps. This is 2 amps, so it's 4 times that. That means the tablet will charge on a regular USB port, anything under the sun, a computer, TV, whatever. But if you use this plug, it will charge faster because it can do more power. And you have to go use a good cable, so I always recommend using the cable that came with the device or a good thick cable, because there's some negotiation that goes on between the charger and the tablet as to whether it can do the full 2 amps or not. It doesn't want to push 2 amps to something that might explode. We hate that. Things explode, catch on fire. Standard micro USB cable. All looks good. We'll set that off to the side. Here is our Office 365 subscription. Whatever you do, do not discard this. This is how you get your free Office 365. I'm going to cover the code up so that nobody goes ahead and activates this for me. But that's good. That gives you that Office 365 for a year. Gives you a year of Office, so Word, Excel, all that kind of stuff. Gives you storage in OneDrive so that you don't have to put everything on the device itself. And it's a pretty good deal. And that's kind of the way they're selling this. It's the way that Microsoft is allowing these manufacturers to not pay for licensing. It's saying, hey, we will give you the license for Windows 8 for free. Well, we'll sell it to you for, I think, $25, but then we'll give you a $25 rebate on the device so that the license is free if you include Office 365. So I've got a little stand here, tablet stand. I got that at Amazon. We can, I'll put a note to that in the show notes. Let me move my light here so it doesn't glare quite so bad. I think that's, man, having to kill that light. It's kind of bad glare. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the power button, turn this thing on, and see what happens. I just kind of touched it. Oh, there it goes. It lights up. To kill that light. I think it's the light in the ceiling. It's the light on the camera. Now, most of these devices come with a little bit of charge, enough to get you going. If not, I've got a charging cable handy we can plug in there to get the little guy up and off the ground. I don't know with that glare, you can't. Let's do that. It's kind of booting up now. Okay, I shut the light off on the camera so that we don't get that glare. There's going to be some screens to see. I don't want you guys to miss out. So this obviously is defaulting to the portrait mode. So it's asking me where I am, where I live, and all that. I'm not in the Pacific U.S. I'm in the Central U.S., not Central America, though I hear it's lovely this time of year. Central Time. We'll go ahead and set that up. License terms. Let's read through this. Let's not. I accept. Let's go through some basics. I'll call this thing Winbook because I am clever when it comes to naming machines. I have one wireless network here, so let's go ahead and launch onto that. All right, I'm going to fuzz out me typing my wireless password. It's also the key to my luggage, so I don't need any of you guys getting on my password, getting on my Wi-Fi. All right, we will use the express settings just so we can get up and going and poke around this thing a little bit. I hope it finds my internet connection agreeable. All right, so it looks like it might have. Yep, apparently that's the point in the thing where it checks the thing. I am going to skip this if I can. And I probably should have not connected to the internet. All right, so here's my Hotmail account. Probably will fuzz this out too, not because I'm worried about you guys getting it and signing me up for Tiger Beat or whatever, but just because I never checked this account, so I don't want anybody to see it and then try to email me there. And I will also fuzz out my password. Don't need any of you jokers getting to my bank statements or anything. Okay, so this part will be funny because I'm actually on the phone that it wants to text to, so we'll see how this works out. I'm recording this with my phone. Okay, I got the code. So the way that was actually able to work is I'm wearing my Microsoft band, and I could see the text message on my band, and I could read the code from there. This is asking me if I want to sync my settings. These are all stored in OneDrive. If I want to sync it with some of my other tablets, I don't. We'll set this up as a new PC. And we're not even going to sync the start screen. OneDrive, I've heard of it. Setting this all up, I'm going to try to put my head in the way to block that light behind me. So far, this has gone pretty good. I've not taken the screen protector off, but the screen has still been responsive to my touches. Probably tough from the video to tell, but it doesn't look bad. It's treating me pretty well. Very friendly. It's saying hi. Hi, little tablet. It's also right now cycling through all the beautiful colors that the screen is able to come up with, which is good. It's my favorite color of blue right here. Still getting apps. Taking care of a few things. Windows 8 is a stickler for details. If something needs to be taken care of, it does. So far, I think this is a good tablet, especially for the price tag for the $60. I think it's pretty solid. Taking care of a few more things, showing me a lovely color purple. I'll probably speed this up in the video. Okay, so that took a little less than 7 minutes. Felt like a long time. I nodded off a little bit in the middle, but not horrible considering the class of machine that this is. So the device is up, it's ready to go. It knows where I'm at, it knows who I am. Scrolling's not too bad. That works out pretty well. So we've got that. One of the things about these devices, again, they've got pretty low specs. But Windows does a dramatically good job of managing all that. Now here's one of the things that I don't like. They've got some crapware on here. This is ESET antivirus. Nothing against ESET. ESET's good antivirus software. I just hate having to go through and uninstall all this stuff. I'm going to say I don't want to do this now, but remind me later, knowing full well that I'm never going to install it. Oh geez, a little scary here. It can't protect me if it's not installed. I get that. Honestly, I use Windows Defender on most of these devices, and I'm happy with it. With devices like this, I'm not worried about them getting infected. I don't keep anything on them, and if anything ever goes haywire, I can just reset them. I'm not worried about that kind of stuff. I also noticed that it's got Pogo plug up there, so that's also some crapware that they've installed that I'm gonna have to uninstall. So I'm curious now. I'm gonna go back to the applications list and see if I can notice any other crapware on here. I don't see. So interesting, the Pogo plug thing does not show up in the apps. So apparently one thing to keep an eye out on this device is the crapware. Okay, so I'm going to go in here. I'm going to start up Task Manager just to kind of show you how well Windows does with limited devices or limited resources. If you go to the Performance tab here, you can see that this device has 1 gig of RAM, and it's using almost all of it. And there's a bunch of setup things that are going on right now. My experience with these devices with 1 and 2 gig of RAM is that Windows does a really good job managing that and tries to keep it around half usage when it's not doing anything. And again, there's setup things going on, and that's why that's happening now. But once everything gets settled down, I think we'll find that it's gonna level off. And it does a really good job of managing these small devices. Now, one of the things that works in favor for that is this device has a really small screen. It's got a 7-inch screen, so you just can't have a lot of things running. In a couple of minutes, we'll talk about where that could cause some issues down the road, though, with this device. So the other thing that I wanted to look at was the drive space. It says a 16 gig drive in it. It says here we've got 8.7 gig drive with 7 gig free. So it's saying of the C drive, we're only using a little over a gig. How is that possible? Let's look at that. Is that number right? Drive space 8.77 gig, used space 1.36 gig, free space 7 gig. So not a lot of space, but a fair amount. Windows didn't take up a lot of space. So how does it do that? There's some magic that they were used when they installed Windows on this device, and let's take a look at it. I held down on the start button there. I'm going to go to disk management and show you the man behind the curtain here. Show you some. I'm going to maximize that. I said I'm going to maximize that. Obviously, these screens are not. Oh, geez. Not set up for guys with big fingers like mine. I'm trying to drag that down so I can. Anyhow, if we look at this, if we look at that C drive partition, we'll see that one of the attributes of it, it's the boot and it's the page file and all that kind of stuff. It's also Winboot, and that is a way that Windows is saving space. It's actually using the recovery partition as the Windows installation. So this recovery partition has a Wim file in it, an install.wim file, that is all the binaries for Windows. Normally, in a device with a normal size drive, you've got all the device installation files there, but then they're also copied into the C drive as part of the installation. That's how installations of Windows have been since the beginning of time. For these devices with small drives, they're actually using the Wim file in there, and the C drive is just the changes. And that's why the install of Windows is only 5 gig or 1 gig. So that's good and that's bad. That's good because it lets us use a lot of the C drive space. That Wim file is compressed, so it takes less space. So that's pretty good. The bad news is right now, so again, this is recorded in February of 2015, the Windows 10 preview, the public preview, does not support devices with Winboot. So I can't put Windows 10 on this device right now without going through a significant amount of work. But again, for these devices, it's pretty good. It saves down on the space. So that's one of the tricks that they use to keep everything small. So again, everything feels pretty good. We can come in here. We can bring up Internet Explorer. We're going to go to Bing. So one of the problems that people had when they first started using Windows 8 was not knowing how to do anything. So we've got some of this stuff. We can swipe in from the right. That gets us our charms bar that I'm going to miss a lot with Windows 10. Swipe in from the left. Come in part way. That gives you all your list of things that are going in. You can come halfway and split the screen like that, or you can come in all the way and go switch back and forth. So that's kind of a neat thing. I've apparently made it mad. So Task Manager, of course, now we're using a lot of memory. Disk is pretty busy right there. I like how it tells how active the disk is. So I can go back to Internet Explorer by pulling over here. Let's see how well this looks bringing up. I like how I hit T and it just goes to my website. It's doing that because it knows who I am, so it's pulling that from my other devices. So that's good. We'll check my blog here. Also looks good. Let's see. Now I can go to my Netcast homepage, and then there's a link to my YouTube channel. Very small link, turns out. So let's see what a YouTube video looks like on here. I will mute this. But we can look here. Looking good so far. I am a handsome devil. So the screen was pretty good, like I said. Way better than the Toshiba Encore Mini, which is a similarly priced device. Trying to jump to the... There we go. No. Trying to jump on the timeline here, but I can't quite touch it where it wants to be touched. There we go. For those of you that watch my podcast, the desk that you see on my podcast, that background where the monitor is right here. We're just 90 degrees. But no, it looks pretty good. The screen, it's not bad, very usable. So I'm going to take that out of full screen. So that's all pretty good. And we can go back to the task manager there and see. Now we're starting to use some RAM. We can see that's, but again, not horrible. Very usable for the kind of things that you're going to do on a tablet. Now, so I think overall this is a pretty good device, certainly worth the $60 that it's going to set you back, and the 2 days you're going to have to wait sitting on the edge of your seat. Is it here yet? Is it here yet? So I think it's a good sell for that, especially when you consider you get Office 365 and all that with it. So one of the things that I do with all these tablets, and especially this one since it's got this USB port, is start hooking stuff up to it and see what happens, because it supports all these things. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to hook up an external monitor to it. Now it has the micro HDMI connector on it, which is just begging to have something plugged into it, so I'm going to do that. I've got a monitor off to the side here that I'm going to slide over. The monitor has VGA and DVI on it, and doesn't always catch HDMI through the adapter. So we'll try HDMI first. It's obviously our first choice, but if that doesn't work, we'll fail over to VGA. But if it does fail, it is not the tablet's fault, it is the monitor's fault. So I'm going to hook this, again, this is an HDMI cable that's going to a DVI adapter on the back. Also, I've got this micro HDMI to regular HDMI adapter. This thing cost me about $10 on Amazon. I'll link a blog post that I've got on that, but that pretty cheap little device to grab. I grab a couple of them. I grab some extras, so if I ever needed them, I have them. So now I will struggle mightily with getting that plugged in correctly. Okay, so that flashed. It knew there was something there. Let's see if we can slide this over. Okay. Not very well. Let me move the camera back here. I have a tough time getting both of those in the same shot. Okay. So you can see that it has chosen to mirror, which is not horrible. We can come out here. We can go to Devices, Project, Extend. Okay, so this apparently when you extend, it's going to force you to be landscape on the tablet. Let's see if we can adjust that. So let's take that. Let's do that. But again, we can see that it's extended. If I drag that, I'm not going to drag it all the way over because I don't have touch on that monitor, so I can't bring it back. So as with any Windows, I can come in here, I can right click on the desktop, go to screen, okay, and it's in portrait. Let's try landscape. Oh yeah, it'll do that. Excellent. All right, so it just defaulted there, but it didn't have to, so we'll keep the changes. It went 1920 by 1080 on the monitor, so that's pretty slick. That's good. That's usable. That's a resolution that we can work with. So it looks pretty usable. Now keep in mind that with this particular thing, that shouldn't take a lot of resources because that's all in hardware. That's part of the Intel video unit, so that shouldn't cost us much of a performance penalty. So a little bit. Now, so that's kind of cool. Let me move this monitor and see if we can get this all in one shot. I want to try something else. Yeah, close enough. All right, so we have a full-sized USB connector on the side there, and that opens up all kinds of possibilities. So I travel a lot for work. One of the things that I have for my tablets that I travel with is this little guy here. It is a 3-port USB hub. It's USB 3, though this is the tablet's only USB 2, but I can use it at home. USB 3 ports. It also has an Ethernet adapter on the end. Very handy. So I'm going to hook that up, and I've got a mouse and a keyboard. I'm going to hook those up to this. Plug those in like that, and just any random USB mouse and keyboard. Slide this over to the side. Fight USB, because you always have to try the USB 3 times to get it to go in, and this is no exception. There we go. Okay, so now let's find on my table over here that mouse, that keyboard. So there's the keyboard, and this is just a cheapo Best Buy keyboard, nothing fancy about it. So if I hit the Windows key, we get the start screen. There we go. I'll knock my light over for comedic effect. Again, a little cheapo brand EXO mouse here. Nothing fancy about that. So that all works. So now, I'm going to slide that back a little bit, make some space. So now I've got basically a desktop environment here. Now, because I've moved where these monitors at, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say Windows. This one is really beneath this one. And not in the judgmental superior term, certainly. So we've got this here. We're going to keep that. So now our mouse knows where we're going when we're dragging stuff. So now I can drag this up here. We've got just the thing. Now, I told you before that these devices with, these slow processors and 1 gig of RAM and all that do pretty well with these workloads because the screen is small. Now that I've got a bigger screen, I got a 23-inch screen up here, now my expectations are going to start changing for what this device can do because I've got a full screen to work with. Looks like I've lost my network connection. Let's try reconnecting. I'm thinking maybe when I connected that with the Ethernet adapter, I hiccuped for a moment. So let's try this. Oh geez, I think it's working. There we go. Yep, when I plugged that Ethernet adapter, and then there's no Ethernet plugged into that, so that's why I couldn't connect. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to drag that up here. So now I can do things with this tablet, like make this full screen. And now I'm going to start being tempted to do things like start running lots of windows in my browser. You can see as soon as I did that, if you go down to Task Manager down there, you can see my memory shot through the roof. IE is a huge memory hog. So now let's do here. I'm going to open up another page, and I'm going to go to MSN, let's say. And, start poking around here. And now the ads and all that kind of stuff start going. Now the CPU and the memory on this box is really getting taxed. So the key to these devices is just set your expectations correctly. Once you start trying to do full-fledged, things like this with multiple screens and all that, that's when you start getting frustrated with the device. So you can see the disk is maxed out, the memory's maxed out, the CPU's, struggling, that kind of stuff. So it's easy to let yourself forget that. But this device should have enough juice to do video testing, video conferencing, things like that. But overall, I think this is pretty good. And I didn't do it, but I can also hook my desktop speakers up to it and run all that. But it's a pretty good device. I think it's well worth the $60 that you're going to pay for it. The full-size USB makes things so much easier. You don't have to keep the USB on the go, cables around, and all the goofy stuff that you have to do with that. The monitor selection, or the monitor output is amazing that you can just hook an HDMI. So I could use this for presentations when I'm on the road. This would run PowerPoint fine. This would do a great job with that. Again, $60 at Microcenter. I've got a blog post where I compare some other budget tablets. I will add this to that list so that you can look across all of them and see which one's best for you. As always, if you have any questions, you can hit me up on Twitter at Todd Clint, or my YouTube channel, or at toddclint.com, and leave me a message. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for your time. Have a good day.